A man is getting into the shower just as his wife is finishing up her shower, when the doorbell rings. The wife quickly wraps herself in a towel and runs downstairs. When she opens the door, there stands Bob, the next-door neighbor. Before she says a word, Bob says, "I'll give you $800 to drop that towel." After thinking for a moment, the woman drops her towel and stands naked in front of Bob. After a few seconds, Bob hands her $800 and leaves. The woman wraps back up in the towel and goes back upstairs. When she gets to the bathroom, her husband asks, "Who was that?" "It was Bob, the next-door neighbor," she replies. "Great," the husband says. "Did he say anything about the $800 he owes me?"
Nick had always wanted to own a motorcycle, which is why he leapt at the chance when a friend of a friend was selling his bike. The bike, despite being old, was in immaculate condition. "How do you keep it so pristine?" asks Nick. "Oh, it's easy. Anytime it's about to rain, I just coat the body with Vaseline, and the rain and mud just slips right off. Here, I'm not going to need it anymore, why don't you take this tub?" And the guy hands over a tub of Vaseline to go with the bike. Nick picks up his girlfriend, Amy, where they're going to dinner at her parents' house. He's nervous, as it's his first time ever meeting them. He makes sure the bike is perfect, picks up Amy, and they head on over. Shortly before they arrive, Amy warns him. "There's something you should know about my family. We have a strange rule, the first person to talk at dinner has to do the wash dishes." Nick thinks that this rule is a little odd, but whatever, it's not a big deal to do some dishes. But as they pull up to the house, Nick starts to see that things are a bit worse than he thought. There are dishes stacked up on the front porch, some stacks towering 8 feet high, all precariously balanced. Inside the house, there are dirty dishes everywhere. These people must have been buying new dishes for every meal for years, with how many dishes there are. Predictably, dinner is silent. As Nick eats, he starts to feel horny, and figures that no one is going to say anything, so throws Amy to the floor and sates himself. No one says a word. A little bit later, he's feeling horny again, and the mom has been eyeing him, so he throws her down and has his way with her too. After he finishes, he hears a crack of thunder and looks outside to see rain clouds forming. Remembering the tip about the rain, he pulls out the Vaseline. Amy's dad bellows out, "All right. All right. I'll do the wash dishes."
A man in Scotland calls his son in London the day before Christmas Eve and says, "I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are divorcing. 45 years of misery is enough." "Dad, what are you talking about?" the son screams. "We can't stand the sight of each other any longer," the father says. "We're sick of each other and I'm sick of talking about this, so you call your sister in Leeds and tell her." Frantically, the son calls his sister, who explodes on the phone. "Like they're getting divorced," she shouts. "I'll take care of this." She calls Scotland immediately, and screams at her father. "You are not getting divorced. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling my brother back, and we'll both be there tomorrow. Until then, don't do a thing, do you hear me?" and hangs up. The old man hangs up his phone and turns to his wife. "Sorted. They're coming for Christmas, and they're paying their own way."
A friend of mine who was an officer invited me for a ride along. As we were driving along, he told me, "I've been a cop for almost 20 years now. I can follow anyone, and I mean anyone, for just 1 mile down the road, and I can find something I can cite them for." I said, "Prove it," so he started following the next guy he saw. After a mile, he said, "I can't believe it, he didn't do a single thing wrong. I'm going to pull him over and let him know." He pulls the guy over, goes up to him and says, "Sir, I'm sorry I pulled you over. I just wanted to compliment you. I followed you for a while and not once did you speed, change lanes without signaling, or do anything else deserving of a citation. I rarely see this, so I wanted to thank you for your safe driving." The guy looks up at him and replies, "Well, you've got to be careful when you're drunk."
One day, Pete complained to his friend, "My head really hurts. I guess I should see a doctor." his friend said. Don't do that. There's a computer at the drugstore that can diagnose anything quicker and cheaper than a doctor. Simply tell it the problem, put in a sample of your urine, and the computer will diagnose it and tell you what you can do about the issue you're having. It only costs $20. Pete figured he had nothing to lose, so he filled a jar with a urine sample and went to the drugstore. Finding the computer, he poured in the sample and deposited the $20. The computer started making some noise and various lights started flashing. After a brief pause, out popped a small slip of paper which read, "You have migraines. You need to take better care of yourself. Get daily rest, drink a lot and avoid bright lights, stress, and strain. See me again in 2 weeks." During the next 2 weeks, while thinking how amazing this new technology was and how it would change medical science forever, he began to wonder if this could be fooled. He decided to give it a try. He mixed together some tap water, a stool sample from his dog, and urine samples from his wife and daughter. To top it off, he even added some oil from his car. He went back to the drugstore, located the computer, poured in the sample and deposited the $20, again stating he had a bad headache. He waited curiously to see what the computer will say about the odd mix. The machine again made the usual noises, flashed lights, and printed out the following analysis. Your tap water has too much waste in it. Your dog has ringworms. Your teenage daughter is pregnant. Your wife has had 5 different lovers in the past 6 months. Also, your car needs a new radiator. And you wonder why you have a headache?
2 friends lived in a communist country. The first friend asked, "Comrade, if you had 2 houses, would you give one of them to me?" The second friend replied, "Of course, comrade." The first friend was happy with this answer. He then asked, "If you had 2 cars, would you give one of them to me?" "Of course," replied the second friend. Overjoyed, the first friend then asked, "If you had 2 chickens, would you give one of them to me?" "No, comrade." The second friend said. Surprised and distraught, the first friend asked, "Why not, comrade?" "I actually have 2 chickens." The second friend said,
"I got my brother really good earlier today. We were packing up for an early morning fishing trip and I told him to turn the light on in the garage. He looked at it and he said, 'It's already on.' I looked at him and said, 'It's not on enough.' He said, 'What? It's on.' I said, 'More on?' He said, 'It's an on-off switch, dummy. I can't make it brighter.' I said, 'More on?' He glared at me and said, 'What is wrong with you?' I said, 'More on?' His reaction was everything I could have hoped for.
A businessman was interviewing job applications for the position of manager of a large division. He quickly devised a test for choosing the most suitable candidate. He simply asked each applicant this question: "What is 2 plus 2?" The first interviewee was a journalist. His answer was 22. The second was a social worker. She said, "I don't know the answer, but I'm very glad that we had the opportunity to discuss it." The third applicant was an engineer. He pulled out a slide rule and came up with an answer somewhere between 3.999 and 4.001. Next came an attorney. He stated that, in the case of Jenkins versus the Department of the Treasury, 2 plus 2 was proven to be 4. Finally, the businessman interviewed an accountant. When he asked him what 2 plus 2 was, the accountant got up from his chair, went over to the door, closed it, came back and sat down. Leaning across the desk, he said in a low voice, "How much do you want it to be?" He got the job.
There was this man who walked into a bar and says to the bartender 10 shots of whiskey. The bartender asks, "What's the matter?" The man says, "I found out my brother marrying my best friend." The next day the same man comes in and orders 12 shots of whiskey. The bartenders ask, "What's wrong this time?" The man says, "I found out that my son is." The next day the same man comes in the bar and orders 15 shots of whiskey. Then the bartender asks, "Doesn't anyone in your family like women?" The man looks up and says, "Apparently my wife does."
A man takes the day off work and decides to go out golfing. He is on the second hole when he notices a frog sitting next to the green. He thinks nothing of it and is about to shoot when he hears, "Rabbit. 9 iron." The man looks around and doesn't see anyone. Rabbit. 9 iron. He looks at the frog and decides to prove the frog wrong. He puts his other club away and grabs a 9 iron. Boom. He hits it 10 inches from the cup. He is shocked. He says to the frog, "Wow, that's amazing. You must be a lucky frog, eh?" The frog replies, "A rabbit." Lucky frog. The man decides to take the frog with him to the next hole. "What do you think, frog?" the man asks. "Rabbit. 3 wood." The guy takes out a 3 wood, and boom. A hole in one. The man is befuddled and doesn't know what to say. By the end of the day, the man has golfed the best game of golf in his life and asks the frog, "Okay, where to next?" The frog replies, "Rabbit. Las Vegas." They go to Las Vegas and the guy says, "Okay, frog, now what?" The frog says, "Rabbit. Roulette." Upon approaching the roulette table, the man asks, "What do you think I should bet?" The frog replies, "Rabbit. $3,000, black 6. Now, this is a 1,000,000 to 1 shot to win, but after the golf game, the man figures, what the heck? Boom, tons of cash come sliding back across the table. The man takes his winnings and buys the best room in the hotel. He sits the frog down and says, "Frog, I don't know how to repay you. You've won me all this money and I am forever grateful." The frog replies, "Rabbit, kiss me." He figures, why not? After all the frog did for him, it is a small price to pay. With the kiss, however, the frog turns into a gorgeous 15-year-old girl. And that, Your Honor, is how the girl ended up in my room. Recently, a husband superstore opened where women could go to choose a husband from many men. It was laid out over 5 floors, with the men increasing in positive attributes as you ascended. The only rule was, once you opened the door to any floor, you had to choose a man from that floor. If you went up a floor, you couldn't go back down except to leave the place, never to return. A couple of girlfriends went to the shopping center to find some husbands. First floor. The door had a sign saying, "These men have jobs and love kids." The women read the sign and said, "Well, that's better than not having a job or not loving kids, but I wonder what's further up?" So up they went. Second floor. The sign read, "These men have high-paying jobs, love kids, and are extremely good-looking." Said the ladies, "But I wonder what's further up?" Third floor. This sign read, "These men have high-paying jobs, are extremely good-looking, love kids and help with the housework." "Wow," said the women, "very tempting." But there was another floor, so further up they went. Fourth floor. This door had a sign saying, "These men have high-paying jobs, love kids, are extremely good-looking, help with the housework and have a strong romantic streak." "Oh, mercy me," they cried, "just think what must be awaiting us further on." So up to the 5th floor they went. Fifth floor. The sign on that door said, "This floor is empty and exists only to prove that women are impossible to please." An old man in Mississippi was sitting on his front porch watching the sun rise. He sees the neighbor's kid walk by carrying something big under his arm. He yells out, "Hey, boy, watch got there?" Boy yells back, "Roll of chicken wire." Old man says, "What you going to do with that?" Boy says, "Gone catch some chickens." Old man yells, "You damn fool, you can't catch chickens with chicken wire." Boy just laughs and keeps walking. That evening at sunset the boy comes walking by and to the old man's surprise he is dragging behind him the chicken wire with about 30 chickens caught in it. Same time next morning the old man is out watching the sun rise and he sees the boy walk by carrying something kind of round in his hand. Old man yells out, "Hey, boy, watch got there?" Boy yells back, "Roll of duct tape." Old man says, what you going to do with that? Boy says back, gone catch me some ducks. Old man yells back, you damn fool, you can't catch ducks with duct tape. Boy just laughs and keeps walking. That night around sunset the boy walks by coming home and to the old man's amazement, he is trailing behind him the unrolled roll of duct tape with about 35 ducks caught in it. Same time next morning the old man sees the boy walking by carrying what looks like a long reed with something fuzzy on the end. Old man says, hey, boy, watch got there? Boy says, it's willow. Old man says, wait up. I'll get my hat. Hey, there, I put a lot effort into making these videos so please subscribe for more jokes and stay happy, thank you.